We do the best that we can with what we have has been something I have found to be not true over time. Many times we don't do our best, and many times we don't know what we have. Many times we will kind of lie to ourselves with what we have, or that we don't have this, or we don't have that, or we need something more to do our best. And what I have found throughout my life experience is that we do our best when we find out what we have. And many times we don't really know what we're working with or what we have within us to get through something. An example was I got cut from the basketball team freshman year in high school, and I made a promise with my civics teacher at the time. I said, if I get cut from the basketball team, I'll join the swim team, because he was the coach of the swim team. And lo and behold, I ended up having to join the swim team. And I went through probably the most grueling 3 months physically that I had ever experienced in my life that year. Practicing, if you know anything about swimming, it is incredibly tough. The water is cold. You're extremely hungry after you get out of the pool. You feel like you're drowning sometimes, that you can't breathe. You have to breathe in a rhythm, and it's really tough. But all that being said, by the end of it, I was, up there beating out some of the varsity teammates, and I had no clue that I had, one, that in me to do that performance by the end of the year, but two, the main thing was to make it through 3 months of swimming. Because by the time I was starting, I was like, I'll be out of here in about a week. I'm quitting. And I didn't. But I didn't know what I had in me at the time. I doubted it, continually doubted it. So therefore, if I was refuting what I had in me, then I could never really acclimate to my best. And when we kind of debate ourselves into this idea of we lack or we don't have enough, we then are really incapable of ever putting out our best. And so we have to find out what we have to produce our best. And I was thinking of this quote yesterday, and I don't know where I got it from. We do the best that we can with the hands that we're dealt, so those after us will have better hands to work with. You want to make sure that people after you have more to work with than you did. And the thing I think that's missing from that is, but can you teach them how to do their best with that? What is the best that they can do with what they have, as opposed to just providing more for somebody? How can you provide them the knowledge to do better with what they have than to just have more? Have more, have more, have more. And this really segues into what I want to get after in this video, and the conversation I was having with a friend earlier today was the idea of what you do determines what you have, and what you have determines who you are. Do, have, be. And that, for many people, couldn't be further from the truth, because what I found to be more optimal, or at least the reality, is who you are being determines what you do, and what you do determines what you have. Be, do, have. And how can that function in your life? If you are being an honest person, you are going to do honest things, and you are going to have honesty in return. If you are being a supportive person, you will do supportive things, and you will have people support you in return. And that's really the idea of it. But in doing support or being honest, you never do it with the end result of, yes, I'll do this, and then I'll have that, or I'll be this, and then I'll have that, and skipping the whole do. In a lot of work, at least the lane I'm in community, in doing supply drives and whatnot for those in need, there's many times that it's just anonymous. Like you run the supply drive, you get it to the space that it needs to be, and then that's that. You may have a relationship with the folks there, but that is that is the breadth of the work. It's not to be it so then you can have some sense of support or accolades or some type of ribbon for doing the work. And so in being, the idea is who are you being in order to do and in order to have. And then when we go back to the hands that we're dealt and doing the best that we can, I really hone in on who are you being when you're doing the best that you can with what you have. And who are you being when you're trying to discover what you have? What does that journey look like? And what things are in our lives that are possibly blocking us from understanding what we have? For me in swimming, it was this idea that I was linked to the outcome of being on the basketball team. That was my fate. I knew it. That was it. That I had to be on the basketball team. And what was really holding me up from reaching my potential was being kind of attached to the outcome of a basketball team. And instead of letting life kind of unravel for me, I wanted to have it a certain way. And there was extreme pain and grief and frustration in not making the basketball team. And that was okay. Now I look back at it, then it felt like I was dying. It felt awful. And the thing that worked out was so beautiful because I was able to go and become a part of this team that did amazing things and made friendships that will last for the rest of my life. And I really think about what it is that we have that we don't know already. And so I really challenge and urge you to think about what are the things that you have, and how can you find out the more that you already do have? Think about that. What is it that you have that you don't know of yet? How much of that is there? I mean, obviously you don't know about it, but how can you attempt to discover what that is and really find out what that means? On this channel, you're gonna hear me talk a lot about in shorts about particular events going on in the world with a question being prompted at the end. And the point of that is not to tell you what to think or get you to ascribe to a certain geopolitical cause or anything, although it may feel like that sometimes. The idea is to really open up the world to you and say, would you have thought about it? Can you think about it differently? Is there a different lane? Or is there a different lens we can look at this? Maybe you'll still think of it the same, but would it behoove you or benefit you to look at this just a little bit differently? And then step away and then come back and then see how you feel about it. And the big thing about all of it, about this channel and in particular this video, is where do you find yourself in what's happening in the world? How can you affect it? How can you serve? How can you support? How can you possibly prompt a conversation that may help somebody else to think a little bit deeper about a subject? Not convince them of anything, but help them to reflect on what's happening more than just how far that they've already gone. And so, getting back to the theme, can we discover the more in ourselves that we already have? And can we also help others to discover really like a bigger world that they're dealing with, other perspectives, other things that are happening? And historically, a lot of it's already really there. You can really find out what's happening now by going back in history. And then it can kind of tell you what might happen in the future. And you can see, cycles and whatnot that are happening. But again, I urge you to really think about the quote, we do the best that we can with the hand that we're dealt, so we can provide a better hand for those after us. And what's really missing in that quote is, can we show others how to do their best so they can discover the more that they have? And really, again, I go back to it because I don't think I've hammered it home enough for me, is we have so much potential that we don't know about. And we really, really, sometimes, including myself, limit ourselves by just what we see around us and what's happened. And we loop, call them tapes. But how do we break that loop and begin to discover the more that we already have to do better than we're doing right now?